Many people online promise to teach you ear training, but what they really are teaching you is how to identify intervals and basically pass a music quiz. After this lesson, you're going to learn how to apply ear training to playing over chords and chord changes, and how to practice it in a way that actually makes you better at this shit. Let's dig in. Let me tell you a little story about something that happened to me at ear training class at Berkeley. I was there when I was 18. I've been playing guitar for maybe like 3 years at the time. I did not know shit. I was terrible at the guitar, and ear training was very hard for me. I stepped into class and there was a quiz. The teacher was this fatty bombaddy named Mark Shalansky. I still remember him. And he played a G on the piano and started playing this melody. If you've never been to an ear training class, it's as if they have a whole book of melody of fucked up versions of Twinkle Twinkle and Mary Had a Little Lamb, but they don't own the copyright for those, so they just fuck with the notes a little bit. Really simple stuff, but at that time in my musical development, I just didn't know what was going on. He was playing this melody and we're supposed to solfege it and then write it down on paper. And everybody handed in their papers, and he proceeded to do this humiliation ritual where he would go one by one and play what people wrote on the piano. And it was my turn, and he looked at it and he's just like, "Hey, you, come here." And I'm standing by him on the piano and he goes, "You wrote a melody that's going down." And I said, "Yeah?" And he's like, "I played a melody that's going up. Can you not tell if a melody is going up or down when you listen to music?" And I was just taken aback by that question. I was just like, I guess not. I don't know. And then he gave me a piece of advice that was actually very profound. He said, "Why don't you hum it? And if it goes down towards your chest, it's going down. And if it's going up towards your head, it's going up." And I was just like, shit. That's how it works. And that was a moment where something clicked for me, because I was attempting to hear it in my head, but I did not have a physical connection to melody. You see, our bodies contain this chamber. It's sort of like a mercury thermometer for pitch, a tunnel where you can feel the pitch sink or go up. And with the guitar, you have to practice it that way to reaffirm that connection. Every great player is at the end of the day an ear player. That is a fact. We actually don't have a good bank for storing music on the fretboard. If I tell you, practice harmonic major for 2 weeks on the fretboard and come up with patterns, you might actually be able to come up with things, but you're fighting this atrophy, right? What happens is we practice and practice and practice, and if we don't commit the things to our mind's ear, they just go away. We've all had these experiences of getting something down completely and then not practice for a few days and have it completely evaporate. But what would it take for Stairway to Heaven to disappear from your memory? A stroke, right? You would need to have a medical emergency. It's there for good. We actually have a place in our mind, this bank that stores long-term musical memory. And our goal with practice is to push the information all the way there, not keep it in this transitory purgatory thing where we're just putting it on the fretboard, learn it, forget it, learn it, forget it. And it all starts with audiating. So let's dig in. Mistake number 1 is transposing without knowing you're doing it. So when I was getting into like my version of like George Bensoning the notes, obviously I'm not a singer so it didn't sound good, but for practice, I found myself doing things like this. Wee bubble babe. But then I realized, man, that note isn't wee, it's so you don't want to transpose. You want to actually find the notes you're singing. You see, you want to be in this octave where you are actually singing the stuff. Wee ba bo ba, wee ba bo ba. So start at the beginning of the guitar and start feeling on this mercury pitch thermometer where the pitch sits. So low E is right here. Now, as I go up, let's say I go up chromatically F, F sharp, G. Ooh. I made it from I'm like at my chin with that G. So it's going up a lot quicker than I might think, because when we're playing frets, these half-step intervals look like the tiniest things, where in reality there's a whole range of pitch in between. This is a technological innovation to make these spaces marked and in tune. But our vocal cords are able to access all these pitches in between, obviously. But let's just see E in a few octaves. Here's E. The point of resonance is in my chest, bottom of my throat. Is right in my nasal cavity. It's right here. I went all the way from here to here. The third one is already deep in my head voice. Now, something that's a really great exercise is to follow a chromatic pitch up and really get to know this mercury thermometer of pitch, because it's not in a line like singers would have you believe. It follows the contour of your skull. It curves, it goes up with your bone structure, because that's your instrument. So let's check that out. F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, C, C sharp. I feel it keep going up. D, now it's really in my mouth. D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, that A, right? A sharp, B, C. Now when I get to that C, that's where my voice sort of splits. I have that thing that singers call the passaggio, right? That's where you can choose whether you can keep going with your chest voice or switch to your head voice. Extending your chest voice really has to do with keeping your nasal cavity open to where the sound can basically go out of your eyes, it feels like, right? If you want to explore what that feels like, say N and then G. Ga, right? Closes it and ga opens it. You're lifting your soft palate. So if I want to keep pushing the pitch up, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, A, right? It's like it gets nastier and nastier. But at that point, I can also start following the sound back through my head. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, A. I'm not here to give you a singing lesson. This isn't about singing well. It's about connecting that logic of whistling and of humming to your guitar playing. So when I put a melody on the guitar, it's a good idea to find a string that is a lot like my vocal cord in its range. So for me, the A string is pretty ideal. Let's take a simple melody like this. You see people like Derek Trucks playing up and down a string with a slide. For a person who put together the guitar with patterns, sequences, and tabs, it's sort of hard to imagine how he approaches a thing like that. But it's really from the standpoint of vibration. Just like when you have this feeling of the pitch in your throat, you have this feeling of the string in your finger. You feel it shortening. And there's a different kind of intuition that you can develop humming up and down. So a great idea after you put together a melody is to just improvise maybe in a scale. Let's take something everybody knows, like an A minor pentatonic. But now let's lay it out on one string, like the A string, up and down. Find the first pitch. Ooh. Now in your mind, put together the rest of the scale. Ooh. After you can do that, just by memorizing those sounds, try to improvise with that. It's a combination of seeing what you're doing and knowing what it's going to sound like. Something that I like to do is take, let's say, a Dorian mode or any 7-note scale, and then I try to sing and mark what I'm doing with my fingers without actually pressing down or without picking. And then I try to play some of the notes to make sure that I'm together with what I'm doing. I'll try to really feel where that is. That's Dorian. But now I'll start trying to move things around like I'm humming. I'll look for things in the neighborhood of where I'm singing. And then I'll start actually improvising with my voice, but try to follow with my fingers. It's all about establishing that connection. Obviously, I can do things you probably can't, but start humbly. Just start moving things up and down and have the vocal ability be your guide through the scale system. Now, you are not ripe to apply this to chord changes yet if you're just starting out with this, but there's nothing wrong with setting a drone and just doing that for a while. You don't even need YouTube or a loop or anything like that. Just use an open string to hear it. So here's A in the bottom, and here's that A as a melody note. Ooh. Just start with the horizontal. As you mature with this, you're going to be able to apply this to changing harmony the more you do it. Because changing harmony just has a bank of notes that works on the chord going to a different bank of note that works on the next chord. So let's just try to do that same thing with two chords that maybe don't share too much, like A minor and F7. But now what I want to do is maybe first of all map out the modes that work on each one of them. So it's going to be A Dorian on the A minor and C melodic minor on the F, which is F Lydian dominant. Now what I want to do is actually check out close notes, the same note on both chords, so on the A. Two of the notes are common tones. Let's see the third one. It's another common tone. Another common tone. That one's changing. Okay, just to become aware of that. How about this one? That one has to change too. How about this one? That one's cool. All right. So there are only two notes that I sort of have to be careful of when I'm playing melodies. Well, when I'm humming, when I get up to those areas, I'm going to pay extra close attention. So I have this like... I am constantly trying to work on this connection to the pitch through the moving harmony. But it all starts with really having a clear sense of where you are here. Now, I don't want to make it seem like we are trying to take the way that vocalists improvise and apply it to the guitar completely. These are two processes that feed each other. The idea is that sometimes I come up with a cool pattern, right? Let's say I want to play this on an A minor. That is so rangy, there's no way I would come up with it in my mind. This is something I'm seeing on the guitar. But I'll spend the time trying to input that into that chord information. See what it feels like here to do that. Right? Maybe there's something about that sound that I like, but now I have sort of force-fed it to myself. And I'm more likely to encounter it again in the future when I'm improvising, because the more I do that kind of thing, the more I feed it to the place that sticks. And that's what you really want to get to. When you start getting the hang of this, you want to start using vocal inflection. You want to start playing things the way you imagine them sonically. So let's say we're taking like an A7 chord. I want to hear this. We are weapon. That more talking thing that starts happening when you're allowing yourself to lean into melody, to do things to the notes, add your vibratos, your scoops, all the things that make the music feel vocal and awesome. An important thing to remember is that anything that our ears can understand, we don't really get excited about. And practicing is the back door to our consciousness. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're transcribing an Eric Clapton solo, and one of the licks is... You're probably just going to look at that and be like, oh yeah, that's just that thing in the pentatonic scale. Now for a listener who's moved by the music and doesn't play guitar, doesn't know anything about the guitar, the whole solo is on one equal, even plane, and that lick is just as impressive as anything else going on. But you are discarding it like a person collecting seashells on the beach that's just like, oh, that one's just a normal one. Well, they're all unique. That one's just not impressive to you because your ears can completely understand it as you pick it up. Now the question becomes, what do you do with things that your ear does not understand, like Charlie Parker licks or an Alan Holdsworth solo? All you're really doing is you're taking it, putting it on the table, naming each component in it, putting it on the fretboard to where you can recreate all these sounds, and then just teaching it to yourself by ear. But you have to remove all the names of things at the end for the ear to embrace it. The ear only takes in melody, the way you know Happy Birthday and You Are My Sunshine, and anything else that's in that bank of long-term memory. Now, the kind of connection that you want to establish with the guitar is the kind that it automatically activates the singer inside you without you having to sing. That's what it's all about. So I'm not this great singer-improviser to where I hear a chord and I don't have my instrument and I can just sing lines and they're all in the harmony. But the moment I pick up the guitar, I am working on this tactile connection between what things sound like and the places I'm pressing. And that I do have together. So if I'm playing on a C, I really... Right? I have this ability to really feel where that is in relation to where my hand is. And that is 100% what you should be working on. Not identifying what a flat six is like a fucking nerd, because nobody gives a shit and you're not going to score high on some musical quiz. This is all about actual skill that relates to playing music well live, not passing exams on paper. Check out our Patreon. There's a ton of lessons there, huge community and growing. Also, comment below for a chance to win a free week on that Patreon. Also, share, subscribe, do all the things, and we'll see you next time.